Because guess what? If you drive paid content to that, they're on your site. It was a relevant landing page. And also when Google sees that you have people getting there, staying on the page and reading it, it's going to boost your SEO value of that page. And you can eventually just pull paid budget away from driving people there. And it's just going to boost it organically.
Welcome back into Facts Not Failing, where today we are unlocking the future of your online shopping experience. Now, imagine a world where every single click, crazy, brings you closer to what you truly desire. I know that's a far-fetched idea, but we're going to get into this today. I am your host, Brooke Furniss, and joining us is Sam Vukas, not Lucas, Vukas with a V, Chief Operating Officer from Dealer eProcess, also known as DEP. We'll shorten that a little bit, and we're going to be unveiling the groundbreaking strategies that transform how we interact, how we engage, and succeed in the digital marketplace. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss a single insight with this man, Sam from DEP. Sam, welcome into the show.
Thanks for having me, Brooke.
Oh, as we were talking offline here for a hot minute, this is going to be this is going to be a fun episode.
Almost a half hour of just kind of talking before actual.
It's going to be a good one. Like I said, I know we're going to get to the takeaways and little nuggets here, but I'm just telling you right now, strap in for some laughter because we are definitely going to get into that, I'm sure, with this episode. All right, Sam, let's dive into the first question here. So we see so much of the digital consumer behaviors. They're shifting like crazy right now. So how should dealerships adapt their website metrics to better align with their business objectives and customer satisfaction?
Ooh, so that's a good one. So with GA4, I feel like everybody's kind of analyticsed out, right? We've all been talking about this for years and years and years and years. But to better align with the focus of what the shopper is doing, now is the time to actually care about Google Analytics. Like back in the day, we used to talk about heat maps and page views, and we're sitting on a treasure trove with GA4 about actually understanding what matters to the shopper. So for example, if you have a Hyundai store, we have data in GA4 that will tell you that most of these shoppers that are looking for a Hyundai Palisade want to look at vehicle brochures or window stickers first. And why are we not making that a priority? Like, it's super important right now. So, I mean, that really is what it boils down to, is everything GA4. Like, don't get tired out from looking at analytics. And I feel like everybody kind of has. Like, we made the switch, and then everybody just went, oh, it's there, it's live, it's counting metrics, we're good. No.
And to your point, that was something that is continually, I won't say, I guess it surprised me, but never ceases to amaze me, that the window sticker gets clicked on, one of the highest things that gets clicked on. And if you don't have this set up correctly, how do you know what buttons are being clicked the most? Or another hot button of mine is website, the CTA buttons, colors. It's not about the colors, but let's say that you're trying to A/B test between purple and blue or purple and red, or back in the day, everyone freaking wanted to go with orange. That's a whole other story. But if you're really trying to say what's doing better, it's not the color. It's going to be what's on the CTA itself, the verbiage. But if that's not set up correctly, you don't know. I was talking to a client this morning, or a potential client, we'll say this morning, that we were talking about. He's like, so, the trade tool situation. I go, well, here's why it's so important. That's great that you can see it on your trade tool proprietary dashboard. The problem is we don't know what's happening. Let's say you have that trade tool on a second page or a third page for some reason. If it's not firing, or it is firing, but you can see that people are continually falling off it, not engaging with it, that tells us a story. So being able to see all these things makes it really, really important. So I would agree with that 100%, Sam.
It's like you know your shopper when they come in and you ask leading questions in the showroom, except they're treating everybody the exact same when they get to the website. And you're just assuming, hey, I've spent this money. Oh, I targeted a Palisade shopper with a certain search term on Google. Great. They'll figure it out when they get there. Try that on your lot.
Mm-hmm. It's like, go fill out a form while you're on the lot, and then maybe we'll get back to you in a day. Maybe. We don't know, but you got to fill this form first.
Yeah.
That one always gets me. And like on that, we're talking about the user engagement on not just through GA4, but in general, just what you do with your website and your digital presence. But what new or unconventional metrics do you think are particularly telling for website performance?
So like I mentioned with brochures and window stickers, like I think we view those as kind of just a have to have, and many programs require them. But, we really should be focusing on a lot of the non-PII and unconventional metrics that don't necessarily lead to an actual lead. Early on, I don't remember how many people were doing this, but a few did. We included, hours and directions. It was counted as a conversion way early on, right? Like we haven't done that in 10 plus years. But
Well,
in
some
the eyes
people
of
still do. Hold on.
some
Some
people,
people.
maybe. I'm not here to call anybody out. But it was viewed as if somebody went to that page, there was a fair to likely chance that they were going to be driving to the dealership. Now, I'm not suggesting we go back to that, but we have to stop focusing so much on what's just getting me leads. Because let's face it, 97% of people that visit the website aren't putting in leads. So why is that the main focus? So it really, when you talk about unconventional, in my eyes, it's engagement tools that help drive them down the path, like brochures, like window stickers. But again, knowing where to place those. You can't just add 15 extra CTAs to your SRP. It needs to be done strategically. So if you know what model to do it on, you can actually effectively change your conversion rate when it comes down to the model segment level by making those choices.
And that is a big one, that you're trying to measure something, but how can you truly measure it if you have, to your point, 5, 10? I mean, I was talking to someone that they said their record is 13 call to actions on a site. I go, how do you expect anyone to even know where to click? It's analysis by paralysis. There's so much button fatigue, you can't see anything. I mean,
Yeah.
case in point, right before we jumped on here, we were going on Amazon, and Amazon has what, 2? Now there was a little issue with Amazon, but that's not normally the case. That being said, is that there's what, buy it now and then add to cart. I mean, that's it. Let's keep it really simple, stupid. It gets
Yeah.
not that difficult, but we continue to want to make it that way. And to your point of the forms, this is another one that drives me bonkers. 2% maybe convert, 3% if you're good. It's,
Yeah.
I think the national average is 2% get filled out.
Yeah.
And so why are we focusing so much on that when I know that if a consumer is interacting with the photos, they're interacting with the video, they're interacting with different things on the site, like your digital retailing tool is a huge one. And yet a lot of digital retailing tools, it's just a black hole. You have no idea what's going on with it. And those things are a really, really big one. And so really diving into that to know, hey, how is the consumer interacting? And I'm sure we're going to get into this, and this is not on the script, but I'm going to jump here anyways. With DEP websites, one of the things that was Gino probably 2 years ago, and he was showing me how it's truly personalized. I was like, yeah, I've heard that one before. He's like, okay. And he sits back, he's like, come take a look at it. I was like, holy shit. Like, you guys actually personalize it to know, hey, Brooke is not interacting with the drivetrain. Well, then why do we have that filter even there? And those are the things that, one, it's personalized, yes, but also to know, how is a consumer interacting? If I'm continually looking at an SUV and then you're setting up sedans to me, why do I want to look at that? So that's another one for me. That's a really big one to look and say, how is a consumer, if your website provider can't do it, 1, call this man. Number 2, look and see if there's any way they can actually personalize it. If not, hey, look to see what the consumer is interacting with, because that's going to tell you a huge story on that one.
Yeah, well, yeah. Whether the tech's doing it automatically, like some of the cool stuff that we're building, there's still a way to assess that data and make strategic adjustments on the site to get the consumers that you want without doing the 13 CTA overload.
Yes. And it is that. So switching a little bit here is that we're using this data, right? So how can dealerships use the data to enhance the mobile experience? Considering it's pretty much the only way, I won't say the only way, but it's going to be the majority of how people are interacting with your site is on that mobile device.
Yeah. So, it's funny. We talk about mobile and automotive so much, where it really is, it is the main device. I mean, think about how anybody shops today. Everybody is on their phone, but actually during COVID, we saw the mix kind of switch a little bit more to people doing desktop, which again could be laptop, but tablets as well. Why? People were now at home. They were, not at the office, where at the office you were not going on a company computer and looking at things. So, it's still very much relevant for both, but truly what we just talked about, if you have 13 call to action buttons and you have the chat tool hanging off the side and the ADA tool over here and all this stuff everywhere, you've cluttered the experience beyond anything that somebody's going to be able to make a determination on. There's a UX phrase that says the more things you introduce to make somebody make a decision, the less likely they are to make that decision. So if you put 2 options, they're going to have a higher likelihood to do something as opposed to 13. So with mobile, it is literally a fight for screen space. Mm-hmm. So when it comes back to GA4 and all these metrics, if you know what you need to put in front of that shopper, and you can offer them either, like I said, through the tech, an automated personalized experience like we're doing, or you just want to change up CTAs based on what model, what they're looking at, you can use this data to do that because you are fighting for screen space. So if you have shoppers that are on the site, if you know the model segment for Hyundai Accents is totally different for what they're going to interact with versus what people with Palisades are going to do, change the experience. Have your SRP listings for Accents look different than what the SRP listings for Palisades look like. It's not that difficult. So you're fighting screen space, and you need to use the data to inform actual decision making on how you want to address this with your customers.
And to take that a step further on the whole mobile thing, that's one thing in particular. If you're looking and inspecting your website and you're only using desktop, you are missing the majority of your traffic. Go and look and say, is it the same? Is it a responsive site? Well, I mean, if you're new to the show or you're on responsive means I don't care if I'm looking on mobile. I don't care if I'm looking on tablet, desktop. I have a massive screen behind me. I don't care if it's on that. Is it the same experience? If it's not, your consumer's not getting the same experience. They're not going to be happy about that. Yep. The next thing is the menus. When the menu goes past where I have to keep scrolling, maybe you have too much. I'm just going to throw it out there, Sam. Maybe a business has too much.
You mean everything doesn't need to be in the menu and above the fold and have every possible way to have somebody click something that you think you don't want to be not there for?
Better. The other one, and I know with certain OEMs are going to strongly suggest that you have certain hero banners. Why we are still having the discussion about hero banners is beyond me, but we are. Those hero banners look like shit on your mobile device. No one clicks on them. It's like zero. I think the second one is 0.2%. They get clicked on. They don't get clicked on. So when you put that from a desktop down to a mobile device, please look at it, because look at your metrics and say, are people actually looking and clicking on this? Because I will all but guarantee you they're not, statistically speaking. Then if you look at like the little banners that we all went through a big phase where we were putting banners on SRPs and VDPs, while they can be beneficial, once again, they look like crap on a mobile device. And certain banners out there, certain companies haven't figured out a way to make them responsive. Yep. So you have this massive banner that's on your desktop, but then you go to mobile, you're like, or a regular size, you go to desktop or to mobile, and it takes up half the screen. Yep. So really looking at that, because all of this tells a story, and it tells how the consumer is shopping and what is stopping them from making that next decision. And it's coming on us to do it.
So I got three things. One, I don't want to necessarily say I want to challenge this, but you said about having the exact same experience on mobile and desktop. While I agree from a content perspective, I have to throw in one piece of my own philosophy.
Okay.
There is a little bit of difference that can be done correctly. So I'm just going to give a example. Okay. When you're on a desktop or a laptop and you're clicking filters, your expectation as a consumer is when you click something, it's going to change what you see, and that's what they want. That is a terrible experience on mobile. If you are on a filter, because again, where do filters live? You have limited screen space. When you click a filter, it's going to take up the screen. If you make one selection, now the content changes. Now you have to click filter again. You have to go back through it. So there are definitely some spots where, from a difference on desktop and mobile, that needs to be focused on the experience. Like that is a very small example, but that's more of an interaction, not content, not what's available, not, I can see the price on desktop, but I can't see it on mobile. Like that is all very relevant, but we also lose a little bit of, the experience if we just force everybody into that same type of interaction. Or conversely, if you make people on desktop have to make a selection, then hit apply filter, they don't want to do that either. So there's a little bit of nuance there.
Oh yeah, I agree. It's the same thing going back to like the banner situation.
Yeah,
I've had multiple stores. I go, you guys can have it. You can do whatever you want to do, but I'm looking at on desktop, it looks great. On mobile, you guys, this looks horrible. Why does this here? Just take it off mobile completely. It's not going to hurt you, but overall, is the site responsive? I'm just gonna leave it at that one and saying, is it a responsive site?
100%. Adaptive websites are obviously, I don't know if anybody's still using those, but yes, it needs to be responsive, but it needs to be responsive and it needs to be focused on the experience too. So little tweaks can be made to, again, if it frustrates you, it's going to frustrate your customer. And you already hit on the banner thing. I was going to say, just drop them on mobile, but Yep.
Agreed.
Sometimes you can't. So I get it. It is what it is. And I forgot what my third thing was.
I was going to say, was that 3? Was that 4? Was it 2?
No, it was 2. It was a little bit of a difference.
Recording this on Monday. By the time this airs, it'll be on a Thursday. But I'm like, man, don't expect me to know. Keep counting right now and being able to count at this point in the day.
I lost count too. Because you took the banner one from me, so we'll leave it at 2. I don't know.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so pivoting a little bit here is, in your view, what role does cross-departmental collaboration, say that 10 times fast, play in crafting a superior digital experience?
For me? For a dealer?
Both?
Yeah, both. So it's a mix, and you cannot go and run in different silos, because what's ultimately going to happen is if you're making website decisions and changes without it including marketing, it's a broken experience. Your website feeds your marketing information. So again, all the interactions, the type of CTAs that are there, the expectations of the shopper of what they saw on search when they got to the website, There's nothing that drives me more insane than a paid search ad that says lease this Camry for $269, drives them to a page, and $269 is nowhere to be found. Like, it has to be cross-departmental. We have to be in communication. If you're running digital retailing and you don't have payments that are matching in digital retailing, what you're doing from a paid search perspective, from what you're doing on your homepage ads, this is the most disjointed experience that any shopper is going to have. So it absolutely plays a role. And also bringing SEO into the fold, we can't continue to run SEO on its own island. Like, everyone's like, oh, I have a content team and they're writing content and they're doing this, and nobody talks to the paid team. Nope. I can't tell you how many times a dealer will pay to write custom content about a new model that's coming out, but no one has the conversation with marketing for marketing to know, hey, there's this page here that maybe if people are searching for the new whatever, it drives them to that content page that we just wrote. Because guess what? If you drive paid content to that, they're on your site. It was a relevant landing page. And also, when Google sees that you have people getting there, staying on the page and reading it, it's going to boost your SEO value of that page. And you can eventually just pull paid budget away from driving people there, and it's just going to boost it organically. So again, these departments have to work together. You can't just talk to your agency and say, this is what we're advertising. Talk to your website vendor and go make these changes, and then tell your SEO people, hey, go write all this content, without any of them getting together. It just doesn't work.
And I'm curious, from your perspective, when you're on your calls with your clients, I personally am trying to, and I'm sure you all as well, hey, if there is a paid conversation, SEM conversation, why, if you have two different services and agencies doing this, why are they not talking together? Because now you're bringing on someone else, and people, they're just talking over themselves in essence in their marketing, and you are paying for stuff you don't need to be paying for, which you don't need to be paying. Yep. So having those, I mean, do you sit with other ad agencies or SEO companies if they're not using you all?
Yeah, so we, over the last 2-3 years, it's been a very big focus of ours to befriend a lot of the agencies. Not that we never were friends, but just, again, giving them an extra edge on the platform, making sure that we're bringing everybody into the call between us, the agency, the dealer, and just working more together. It just makes more sense because, again, we've ran into these problems. Nobody's perfect, and we just discovered that too many times the dealer or we would be making changes or making modifications, and we didn't know that this agency over here was doing this. So it just becomes that much easier to bring them into the call, especially if they're getting extra features of being the agency of record that's working on the DEP platform. If you have access to different level support people, you have higher level access to the platform, you have, development teams that are here that are, listening to feedback that say, oh yeah, we can change it for you to make that easier. It just makes it more of a group effort to bring all of that together.
Amen. And I would also say, when you're talking about cross-departmental, that's a word, that's like way too many words on a Monday here. But if you're working interdepartmentally, which is also a very tough word for me to say right now, is, hey, are you having a conversation with the BDC? Because the BDC are taking the majority of those phone calls. So they may hear like, hey, man, people are clicking on XYZ, and I don't even know what we're not even seeing that information come through. Once again, have that conversation with your marketing team, with the ad agency. Hey, we keep getting these opportunities. I don't like the word leads. So these opportunities that are coming to us, and we know nothing about them. Or it might be on like a tier 1 or tier 1 site that they're coming through and they can't see the information. Are you having that conversation then with the people that can hopefully do something about it? Maybe it's just how it is, and because of ADF XML, you can't see it. But are you having those conversations? The same with service. How many times I get on a little bit of soapbox on this, but our service and fixed op marketing, and yet it's just like, we'll throw $200 in it. I'm like, but do you understand that 83% of your phone calls are coming for service and sales is paying for it? So How are you then integrating that and having that conversation at least monthly about what the evergreen campaign is? What are we trying to move? Like all those different things, so that I would love to get to a point that those service ads are not costing you 10 times more than everything else. Because I can tell you the stuff when it comes to blogs and things like that, it's usually a fixed op parts related blog that end up doing incredibly well. Statistically speaking, this fixed op videos always do better. So having those communication back and forth on all departments, including whatever agencies anyone is using. You
hear fixed ops mentioned about like blog posts. I love winter here in the Midwest because the number one page that does so well for every dealer in the Chicagoland area, and I'm sure this is the same for Wisconsin, Indiana, anywhere else. What does this TPMS signal light mean? The amount of times that I still see that page spike in traffic because it gets cold and people get the warning and it's like, hey, your tire pressure is lower. Those pages evergreen wise, rank extraordinarily well in the winter months. So again, why are we not trying to work through this with multiple teams and be ready for this? So anyway.
Agreed.
You and I soapbox all day long.
Oh man, I mean, I've told the story before, so if you're new to the channel, you're gonna hear it once. If you're not new, then it's just gonna be redundant. But it was a key fob blog, and this was going back 8 years ago probably, and it was done we did one in English and one in Spanish, and the Spanish one to this day is still ranking in the top 10 pages for this dealership. It's like, let's see, that's the stuff like one, no other languages are being spoken at your dealership, but number two, look and see where people interacting. I mean, we would get, it's been a while since I've looked at these stats, but we were getting comments every single week. And this is going on for years about it. It was all in Spanish. So of course, hopefully we're great. Someone there that can speak Spanish or throw into Google Translate, which is not 100% true, but having that interaction, that is stuff that you really, really need to look at to say what is resonating the most. And let's do more of that.
Oh yeah. So it takes everybody. It's not just a one and done.
No, it's not. So we've got a lot of technology. You guys also are always trying to stay ahead of the curve with technology. So what potential technology disruptions should dealerships be prepared for?
I got a couple, but I'll go in on one just a little bit. First off, there's going to be consolidation on both sides, both tech and dealerships. So whenever that happens, that definitely generates opportunity for new things to be born out of that. So, not really to be ready for that. It's kind of an open-ended thing, but things will change and happen as, again, vendors consolidate and dealers consolidate. On the horizon is all that data privacy stuff with cookies and everything else. So make sure that you are working with vendors that, depending on what state you're in, have those laws kind of locked down and ready to rock and roll. But really the big one, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it, I have to talk about AI, because I feel like, AI is sponsoring everybody these days. And every time I say AI, I'm going to get paid $50.
Yeah.
It
used to be CDP, now it's AI. We're good.
Yeah. Well, I think, the CDPs are still very much there, but I think the barrier to entry still for a lot of dealer groups is just the cost and time. I think for some of the large and mega groups, I definitely, we work with plenty that have leveraged the CDPs, and I look at it as the rocket fuel on top of personalization. There's a lot that you can do with GA4 data, and there's a lot that you can do with, like our platform that automatically will adjust based on shopper interests. But if you have a CDP, it just makes it that much better. But AI, I have to soapbox this one. It is still, in my eyes, and I'll get a lot of flack for this, it's a solution looking for a problem. While I love it, and I think there's definite use for it for data crunching, for example, instead of having to sit there and look through all of your GA4, the people that leverage AI to consolidate that information and make it actually usable are going to be the winners. And I think it's still going to be something that needs to be used to augment practices and augment other implementations that you're already doing. It's not a full replacement. I remember NADA last year. Everybody's talking around, AI, and we're going to do content generation, and we're going to do this, and it's like, okay, that's great. Like, I'm glad people are excited, but augment with it. Don't replace with it, because I can tell you it still lies. There is what they call AI hallucinations, where if you ask it a question and it doesn't have the facts, it's going to assume and make up its own fact that if you just trust it, you're now generating content that is not good. Same thing with like the chats and things. So again, I'm very bullish on AI. I think we as an industry will figure out some of the best ways to leverage it. I definitely say be on the lookout for all the companies that are dabbling in it, because there will be missteps, which again, we all will have. But I think some really cool stuff will come from it eventually.
Amen to that. Like that's a big one of mine too. Like I would have to hire an entire staff for the stuff the AI does. That being said, I don't just arbitrarily throw this stuff out there without checking them. And I've had so many times where I just this morning, I gave it the exact numbers to craft something, like a proposal for somebody. And it went through and I said this, and this, and it just started making up stuff. And so there's different, also depending on what the type of AI that you're using, I have found that certain AI definitely works better than other AIs. The other one that's been big for me is, hey, at the beginning, I was buying a year contract to all these AI companies. And within 30 days, within 2 weeks, it was outdated. So really going through, and my best practice is to try to break it as much as you can. Mm-hmm. And that's like, there's certain companies out there that you can say just about anything you want to it, and it won't get it right. It's going to give you, because it's public facing, it's going to give the consumer whatever they want if they can break it.
Versus,
Yeah, to sell it for $1. I've seen the other one multiple times where I can throw into the AI, hey, my car is listed at $20,000 on KBB. What's my out the door pricing? And it will give me outdoor pricing.
Yeah.
And now you're stuck with that because someone can take a screenshot of that. Or, there's always there's always going to be someone out there or someone's out there that is going to do nefarious things with it. So yeah, they take a screenshot of it saying some, unethical things or such and such. So just be really careful when it's public facing and just, use the human. You are still the human in this situation. Please understand that.
Yeah, AI is not going to be selling cars to people anytime soon. The salespeople are selling cars. It's the second major purchase that anybody's going to make behind a house. People still want to sit down and talk to somebody. They want to still sit in the car. Like, again, AI has many use cases: chat, data crunching, summary analysis. You can feed it your GA4 data. There's a lot of really cool things that you can do. Content generation, again, as an augmentation. Like, ask it for a start for content generation, proofread it, add it what you need to, change the things that it was wrong on, and then publish. Don't just blindly publish.
And to that point, if you are using a company, which a lot of people do use companies to do their SEO, obviously, but their blogs as well, the number of times, Sam, that I am told, oh, we write all of it. We write all of our blogs manually. And I'll go in and I'll throw it into Zero GPT. And it's 90% written by AI. It's 80% written by AI. So just because someone claims they're AI and that they say they're bringing AI or they're doing something, please just fact check it. I mean, hence the show is Fact Not Feelings. Really dive in to say, is this in fact written by a human? If it's 20%, I mean, that's different. But when it's 70, 80, 90, 95, 97% written by AI, not only is that it's hurting you from an SEO standpoint, Google is going to slap you on the wrist. And it's no longer, what's the word I'm going for? It's no longer unique to any other dealership that's doing the exact same thing. So please just do your homework on that one, please.
I couldn't agree more.
All right, let's dive into user experience here. So what key UX principles should dealerships prioritize to boost their website engagement and conversion rates? We could talk about that all day.
Tricky because it's a balance. Because I'm going to say something that kind of negates a couple things, but we'll work through it. We'll work through it. So stay with me. It's just got to be clean. We cannot have the fear of not having some CTA that you think one person is going to click and go, oh, well, I have every month 3 of these leads, so I have to keep that button. I'm here to tell you, if you get rid of that button, they will find another button to click. I promise you that. Let's rip the bandage off. Let's get through it together. We can start a support group on WhatsApp to talk about removing CTAs. Like, let's do it. But we have to know that, again, shoppers are looking for a few things. They still now, because of COVID and inventory levels, they want to confirm availability. Very easy one to keep. They want to run payments. Easy one. I don't care what you use. Personalized payment, find my payment. I don't care. Just have a payment button. Don't put payment buttons that pop up a form that go, we'll give you a payment if you give us your information. Don't do that.
That's illegal.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah, but the cars rule coming down the pike here in, was it June 30th, that you can no longer gatekeep anything on your website. So if
I
you
thought
have
the cars rule was on hold.
It kind of not really. They pushed to the back burner, but they're still saying it's going to go forward.
Okay.
That's the
lawyer.
Yeah.
Funny segue to that. We got hit up when that was going to go live early on, and we had read it and we'd gone through it, and we had so many OEM partners that were like, what are you doing for dealers? I'm like, what do you mean, what am I doing for dealers? Like, I'm not pricing the cars. Like, I'm not like doing any of this. Like, the disclaimer boxes are there. Everything that they need to follow the rules for the cars rule to display price line items, addendum sticker, it's there. I can't police them. I don't know if they put Xylon treatment on the interior or not. I'm not in the showroom. So anyways, fun. Glad to see that that's making a comeback. That's going to make it a lot easier. Yes. Anyways, back to what we were saying. Clean. Just make it easy. Make it make sense. And just follow that rule. You don't need 10 different types of CTAs. People will find a way to communicate with you. I promise you that.
Hey, man. And whether you're gatekeeping, even if this car rules wasn't coming down the pike, people don't like that. They're expecting to see their price, and now you're not giving it to them. You're making them to do an extra step. And even your digital retailing tool, the same thing. I mean, there's just, keep it simple. We would not go to Amazon if Amazon made us do what a lot of dealerships do. And it's just like so many different buttons. There's so much going on. I'm clicking here. Oh, well, the price is actually here. But if you go to this other site, it's going to be here. Oh, if actually you come and talk to us, it's going to be a different price. No, it's just one price. Like,
so now I'm going to contradict myself. So stay with me.
Stay with me.
You got to keep it simple, but you do have to understand that there is an expectation. Like Amazon can get away with 1 or 2 CTAs because there's not much you can do. You are not looking to trade in the laptop stand you bought 3 years ago for the new laptop stand. That's not how Amazon works. You're not trading in your shampoo for a different shampoo. We're not doing this. You're also not looking to get pre-approved for a major purchase on Amazon. Now, I know that they have their credit and you can do these things, whatever. It's because they're trying to make money. But there are people that when they're looking at a car, they don't know what their buying power is. They don't know what the value of their trade is. They don't understand the difference between taking 2.9% financing and losing the $5,000 customer cash, because in order to take that, you need to take 7.9% financing. They don't know these things. So there are minimums that you should still have. Now, again, if we lived in a perfect world and I had my way, it'd be one button. But we do have people that are payment shoppers, credit shoppers, either know their trade or simply want to verify that the car's there. So, I mean, right there already, that's 4 CTAs. And then when you talk about having the difference of window stickers and brochures, now you're not collecting leads on that, but it's still CTA. So you have to take it with a grain of salt. You have to do the mix that works. You have to be able to pick and choose what models need what CTAs. So it's definitely a balance, and work with the website vendors to make sure that you're doing the right setup.
And Sam, I was so emotional about this. I'm crying out of just one eye right now.
I saw that starting. I was
like, man, I can't see out this left eye right now. So this is gonna be fun. The last little few questions we got going here, because I can barely see the screen in front of me now. You're like going, I just feel a tear like coming down my face. I was like, man, apparently I'm very passionate about this because my left eye will not stop watering. So.
Is it contact? Are you okay?
Yeah, we're good to contact. I mean, like I said, I've literally had my shoulder pop out on live air. So
we'll power through. We're
good to go. You just like see me like blinking a lot. I'm like, she's like, what the? I'm like, I can't see on my left eye. That's all. Don't worry about it, guys.
So I took up a lot of time on the UX thing, but it is something that I'm very rooted and very passionate about. I work with our UX team and all of our product owners. And again, we try to leave flexibility. And again, with everything that we're doing from personalization, I have to account for CTAs changing and moving and doing so. It's like saying, hey, go down to 1 CTA, but also you need 5 CTAs. So it's a little bit contradictory, but again, relevant to the shopper, relevant to the audience, relevant to the model, and keep it as slimmed down as possible.
And if I'll also say, if your DR tool is one, or if you're using the DR tool and you don't have 3 of them on your website, you have 1 DR tool. A lot of that's already going to take place in that ecosystem. So there's your one. But when you have personal payment, get my e-price, those are the same freaking thing. Like why are we doing this? So just really looked at the data to say, is this being clicked on? If it's not, then why do we have it? If it's 3 customers, like, okay, we don't care about, not that I don't care about them, but to your point, they're going to find somewhere else to click. We just given them way too many options. They don't know where to click. So they
will be okay. I promise. If you were going to get them to convert, they will still do it. Whether it's chat, phone call, or instead of confirm availability, they click get e-price, they'll find you. They're not going to be like, well, I don't see confirm availability. I guess I'm just going to go to the next competitor. It's not
not so much. Okay, so this might go on a little bit to what we just discussing. Sure. But what methodologies do you find most effective for informing website enhancements? Being a website provider.
It's an interesting one. So, I mean, again, as a website vendor, we data crunch and do things a little bit different than a dealer can, right? But the good news is, going all the way back to the beginning of this, and it's kind of the theme a little bit, is understanding the customer and GA4. That's your informed decision. We all, leading up until this point, had to kind of make up how we all differently looked at this between, like you said, A/B testing, heat mapping. Like, we've had something called click path data for years. We know what the turn rate is. And when I say turn rate, I don't mean inventory. I mean, like, the amount of times the customers come to the website until they convert. Like, I have all of this data. We can make these informed decisions from a global scale all the way down to the individual dealer. We can make the recommendation. But I understand that in the industry, every vendor is going to make recommendations to their dealer body, and some are going to think it's based off of Fugazi metrics, and others are going to believe them. You now have a way to fact check. We now have ways that, as the vendor, when we're sitting down doing our performance calls, we can say, hey, we see a lot of people are clicking on this for Ford Broncos. We want to make this change because your customer base is telling us this change should happen for how they're shopping. You can now go validate that in your own GA4 metrics. You don't have to go, my gut doesn't tell me that that's what's happening. Like we have to get back into loving Google Analytics again. Now I know it's not perfect and it's not always the best thing, and they change data on you once in a while, but it's still a barometer. It's a guideline. It gives you knowledge to make that informed decision. Your customers are giving you feedback every day on the website. And if you've got a good website vendor, they're making changes based on that feedback, or in like DEP's case, we're making automated changes in real time based on that feedback. But again, when you end the month and you want to see what happened, the same data we're using now, easily accessible to you.
Yeah. And that is, there's so many things to take away from that, but really just understand before you ever change out that CTA, before you ever add whatever button it is on your website, whatever it may be, is to do your due research to understand, is this working or is it not? And the same thing is going to go with the website provider. If they're suggesting this and you're just trusting them implicitly, I'm not going to say they're going to take advantage of you. Some may, but understand, is this really something we need? Or, hey, I saw it at NADA. I do love NADA. I saw it at NADA, and so I need to put it on my site. Okay, but why? Yeah. Why do you need to do that? Like, always ask why, and not working backwards, work forward. Because there's so many things that get put on. I'm like, wait, where did this even come from? Like, I didn't even see this here. And if it's not firing the ASC events, or only fires ASC events on certain platforms, you've lost all data into that. So now you cannot make any type of informed decision based on that. Kind of going back to this, not going back to, but a conversation we've had earlier is about the oh my gosh, comply auto and comply debt. I understand why they're doing this stuff, but if you, and I'm not legal advice here, I'm not a lawyer. Just look it through and say, is this the best course of action to enter into this and then no longer have any information in Google Analytics? That's a really big issue, and yet, even though we're talking about it, there's so many dealers that still have no idea about this, or they just randomly opt in and don't know that they opt into it. And knowing you've got to have that conversation, otherwise you're just throwing darts at a dartboard. And once again, you're going with your gut to say, well, I feel like this mailer is going to work, so we should go with it. I feel like this should work. Well, the name of the show, Facts Not Feelings. Like, do your freaking research on this and please, people.
Yep. Yeah. No, the cookie thing was definitely huge. Caused a little bit of pandemonium. I think it was a couple of weeks ago when that all happened. I'm not saying it's not important. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't even play one on TV, let alone the show. So I'm not the person to listen to, but listen to me. Take it seriously, but don't make it everything. It's still an emerging situation. There is so many gray areas. There's so many different things. Now, I know like ADA was a recent panic of everything, but the only difference was there were, a lot of lawsuits that were happening, and there was a precedent set about this. Now, if you look at some of the cookie blocking as it relates to analytics data in any other industry, you can't find anything talking about blocking Google Analytics from any type of sites currently. They're talking about not tracking and cross-site browsing, and because you're on this URL, you shouldn't be getting targeted from a cookie by this other customer. And they're talking about data brokers and all these people. They're not simply talking about Google Analytics or Adobe Analytics, whatever, just to track page sessions and things. I don't know why Automotive is becoming the target for this. But again, Automotive got raked over the coals with the ADA thing. I think it's just an easy way for these ambulance chasers to go, hey, we're going to hit you with this unless you pay us $5,000. And every dealer's going to go, I don't want to go to court over this. Here's $5,000. So, and I'm not telling you to battle it out either, because again, there's no real precedent set yet. So it's definitely an interesting piece that I think everybody needs to just keep an eye on right now.
Is probably like the first, within the first 10 episodes, when I very first started this podcast, I brought an individual on by the name of Chris Tregas, and he used to work, I think he worked with this attorney general in Chicago. Like he's done so much. He was a data analysis forensic scientist or something. It's something crazy, like the incredible title there. But the whole point of this is that you got into what are called, I think it's called cottage industries, where their whole goal is that they outsource everything to go after one thing. And auto gets hit all the time. Remember the whole texting thing? I mean, people went nuts on texting, but it took multiple dealerships and big dealerships to get in trouble before anyone paid attention. And then it was this big old thing. Then you saw ADA, same thing. It was just like, if you don't have this, you're going to get hit. It's just a matter of time. So it'll be interesting to see how this whole thing plays out, because there are definitely people out there, their whole job, like ambulance chaser, is to go after you. So really having your house in order and understand that to your point, it's evolving. Like, who knows, even the cars thing, like it's so all over the map. I'm supposed to actually be speaking with Eliana in May, I believe, is about cars rules. I was like, dude, I can't even put a deck together right now because it's going to change in a week. Like they may going to move it to August or September, or we're going to change this because it's almost impossible what you're asking of us. So I was
100%.
like, we'll hold off on that one. All right.
And there's good companies out there like Comply Auto. Like we have a great working relationship with them. Again, if you live in a state that has adopted some very harsh, CCPA style rules or GDPR ones, again, if you want for the comfort of safety, go for it. But I believe they've made it an opt-in now. If you want to go as far as blocking Google Analytics, I don't think that at this point in time is necessary, because if you read a lot of it, it is simply disclosing what you're using the cookies for, what they're doing, and allowing them to either opt out of all of them or individual ones and say, oh, just keep the ones that that are necessary, right? And most people are going to either just close it or accept the ones, or look, give them the option. I wouldn't put too much panic behind it. Again, if you are in a state that you're super worried about getting hit, just put it on, but know that it is going to harm Google Analytics. Just kind of what it is right now at the moment.
Yeah, there always seems to be something around the corner. You're like, okay, we took a breath from something and now something else hit us. So to your point is constantly just getting in and saying, okay, staying on top of things as much as you can. Understand that whilst there are some issues out there that get blown out of proportion, and then there's some that probably need more attention on them. So just do your research, network with people, understand.
And again, it's 13 states. So if you're in that state that has this adopted policy, like, there is no harm in throwing this on here. Just find a good vendor that's got it. Some website companies are reselling products or doing their own thing. We're all here to help make sure everybody is safe. But yeah, it's at 13 states right now.
Yeah. So once again, do your research. I think we've said it a couple times here, but just do your research. So let's wrap up with, can you offer a glimpse into the future? Get a little magic 8-ball out here. For those that don't know what a magic 8-ball is, sorry, it's you didn't live in the great times that we lived in. But get your magic 8-ball out here into a glimpse into the future of digital retailing trends and how dealerships might prepare to best use them.
Digital retailing trends. Well, I want to take a step back and say this, because I think we don't recognize it enough. Dealers have been selling cars online for years, well before digital retailing.
Yep.
We also, I think in the past year, I've been proud to see that we've all had a little bit of a sobering moment to finally accept that it's not the end all be all. I remember when everything started early on, and one of the things that we learned is a lot of people were out there touting perfect, complete, full transactional, yada, yada. We're still trying to see all the different ways that it can be fully transactional. And the definition is wildly different between vendors. But as far as expectations, you got to remember, though there are great companies out there that are doing great digital retailing, and there's everything from, the simple, just giving you a payment, to doing fully transactional in some cases. Fully transactional completely relies on your tech stack. It completely, as a dealer, it completely relies on who's your DMS, who you're desking from, if you're using Route 1 or Dealer, like, it requires on all these things. So it's not a perfect mix for everybody. But the future has already been kind of happening. And again, seeing around the corner, consolidation of digital retailing solutions, digital retailing, OEMs diving fully in, some coming completely out, some OEMs that said, hey, this is the company, and some that have said, okay, now it's dealer's choice. It's going to continue to be rocky, but do what works for you. Dive in on new technologies, be on the cutting edge, as long as it doesn't disrupt your operational daily duties as a dealer, but continue to augment your tech stack and find what works for you. Don't have FOMO. Don't think because you're not in on something that you're missing out. If it's going to break a process at your dealership, or it's going to cause more of a headache, don't worry about it. Like, you guys have been selling cars online forever. Continue to do so, and continue to make sure you're giving your customers. Everybody's different too. Every state's different. What customers want in one state's different than what customers want in another state. And again, keep in mind the fact that really, if you include Carvana and CarMax and all these other online retailers and the dealer body of the world, only 10% of people are buying cars online fully.
Yep. Well, that is something like
focus on that only.
Yeah. And that is, you get two ends of the spectrum. People that only see it as a actual lead generator, which is so much more than that. But understand, are you meeting the customer exactly where they are in their buying experience? So I know that, hey, I can see Brooke only put in her trade and then didn't do anything else. Great. So what are you doing with that? I mean, there's so many things that can be taken away. And in 2020, yes, did it get this massive boost that now everybody's going to use it? Yeah, it did. But it was never to a point that we're going to buy the entire thing online. And to also based on states, you can't buy it all the way through. So understand how it works in your process. And then from there, how are you optimizing it to help your consumer to say, I saw you here and here and here. Well, don't say that because it's going to freak him out. But well, being where the customer needs to be, I'll put it like that.
If you start telling them that you see where they're at, that state is going to adopt GDPR regulations.
Real quick, like.
You're going to have a lot of people petitioning, like, hi, my dealer called me and told me they knew everything I did on the website.
Yeah, no, that's a problem. All right, Sam, we're at that point in the show. We're going to jump into the lightning round with you. So for those that are watching, they can see your little QR code underneath here. But for those that are listening in podcast land, how can they get in touch with you and how can they find you?
Perfect. So I will give out my email. It is just sam@dealereprocess.com. Also my cell phone number, 219-789-6009. Text me, call me. It is my only phone that I use for literally everything. But also don't be offended if it's after 6 p.m. and I ignore you because I'll probably be at home with my family eating dinner. But nonetheless, you can get a hold of me there. You can go to our website, dealereprocess.com. We've got everything listed on there. And we got some really cool stuff coming out soon. So please check us out on our LinkedIn page and my LinkedIn page and everywhere you can find my social media stuff.
There you go. There you go. All right. The name of the show is Facts, Not Feelings. So how are you distinguishing facts from feelings?
So it's tough because, we were joking before recording about, I wake up in the morning, I grab my phone, I'm looking at work emails or something, and I have to put it down before I respond because we all get in our feelings. I'll see something and I just want to hammer off a response real quick, but I have to go, okay, just give it like 5 minutes. It's difficult when we're also passionate about what we do, but you have to really take a step back. And you have to be willing to listen to somebody prove you wrong. I invite anybody ever. I have a million theories and opinions on all kinds of stuff. It helps drive what we develop. And I welcome anybody coming in going, I don't think it's going to work that way. Okay, great. Let's talk about it. Why? You have to check your feelings at the door and you have to look and listen to other opinions, even if that person feels strongly about it, because we're all here just trying to make everything better. Like there is no one perfect way to do something. So you got to leave the feelings at the door.
I agree 1,000,000% of that one. So,
my CTO might say differently about me because we've had some pretty loud discussions before, but you also have to know who you can hash things out with.
Right.
You have to
Where's
know.
a safe space I can have those discussions?
Yes. And we don't take it personally. Him and I are great
No.
friends, but if anybody walked past one of our large disagreements, people would be like, wow, do you guys hate each other? No, we're just getting to the bottom of things. Like we leave the feelings at the door.
Yeah, and I would love to be proved wrong. Like I say that because I think it was Paul, Christy, and I were talking about this, that he goes, when I'm proven wrong, usually things aren't, they just leave your feelings at the door, check your ego, because you may suggest a lot of things or, hey, it's going to go this way. And then it doesn't go that way. Like there's always to have the collaboration in mind. So let's round it out with, if you could have any superpower, what's it going to be?
Flying? I mean, okay. Why not? Like,
yeah.
I hate air travel. It's a pain.
We were just talking about that.
We were just talking about that, about how the Atlanta airport is always insane to fly to. Yeah, if I could just like pop out the door and go zip down something, that'd be great.
Okay, I like it. All right, Sam, thank you so much for being on the show. I so appreciate your insight. Always love chatting with you. Always have a good time talking with you. And for those that don't know Sam, get to know this man. He's incredible. Obviously, you guys know I'm a huge advocate of DEP as well, but just a great human being. And you all know the deal at this point. Find a way to serve today. Find a way to just be the joy in someone's life. I don't care if it's serving by opening a car door. It could be, hey, I'm going to do a smile to someone. Just do something, like I said, to make someone's day a little bit better. And with that, everyone, we'll see everybody next week.